Okay, good morning everyone. Nice to see everyone again. So with any luck, next week we won't have any clashes. There seems to always be a clash with something, but I think we're getting there. So this morning we have PHE or PE and Language B, so we have Mr. Jared, Ms. Fatima who's doing Language B, and then Mr. Clem for Maths. Just before I hand over to them, just two quick announcements. Firstly, the curriculum handbooks, which are currently on the school website. As you know, they are the old ones. There's been a huge amount of work being put in to get the new ones done. With any luck, towards the end of this week or early next week, they will be up and running and hopefully worthy of an outstanding school, because they are certainly a lot better than the old horrible ones. So, one more thing. From next week, we will be in the Black Box Theatre, which is up here. Same time, 8 o'clock for the next 3 Mondays, but upstairs in the Black Box Theatre. Any questions before they start? Okay, over to you, Mr. Jared.
Morning, my name's Jared Purdy. I'm the head of faculty for PHE or PE. Just going to go through a few, structural formats of PHE this morning, and also how you guys can help support us and your child, and some questions at the end. So as you can see, yes, we are physical and health education. Sometimes the health part gets missed a little bit, but we are most definitely health education as well as physical education. As you can see there, this is just a scope and sequence of all of our grades. As you probably already know, MYP is split into 3 sections: MYP 1, MYP 3 and MYP 5, which is the final 2 years of the program. You can see to the left of the table all of our categories of the sports, and just how we scaffolding their development all the way through to grade 10. As you can see, we try and have a very broad range of sports. We do athletics as well, but it's not every single year for every single grade. Okay, so on to the assessment type stuff. I'm just going to go through each criterion. Okay, we have four criteria for PE. Criteria A, knowing and understanding. So you can see there the different types of requirements for the different stages of the MYP program. Criterion B, planning for performance. Okay, so this has a lot to do with all sorts of planning that they do for activities in PHE. It can be fitness planning, dance choreography, some sort of training session, peer coaching, anything like that. Okay, criterion C is generally the one that most students concentrate on, and sometimes it's a little bit of a mistake. Please don't think that we don't want students to get the highest mark possible in applying and performing. However, they do make the mistake that that is only 1/4 of their marks for PHE. So a lot of the time students think if I have a really good performance, I'm going to get high marks. But they need to be performing in all criteria to get high marks in PHE. And the last criterion is reflecting and improving performance. This is all about, generally, it can be after or before they do an activity. Okay, and it's just using their critical thinking skills to try and improve a performance of theirs or somebody else's. And it also has a lot to do with interpersonal skills as well. Okay, so just how you can support your child. Definitely, as we are a practical-based subject, we do need students to be prepared for class. So it is an expectation at Raha that they wear a PE kit. They can participate if they don't have their PE kit, but it's only obviously at a minor level. Okay, it would be very uncomfortable to do a full lesson of PE in the trousers and the white button-up shirt and be expected to stay in that uniform for the rest of the day. So if you can please assist your child to be prepared. Just like with their time management, like knowing when their PE lesson is throughout the week and helping them have it organised. Injuries and illness, obviously, they're not forced to do PE if they're injured or if they have an illness, but we expect that they have a notification from their parents. That can either be in an email or a note. Any ongoing injuries or illness, it's usually expected that a doctor's note is provided for a long period of time, so anything probably over a week. Now, you guys are probably sick of hearing this already, or you will get sick of hearing this, but daily manage back referral. So just having your child practice looking at manage back every day, checking their calendar, any notifications that they have. It is a very good tool as well to get them to manage their time. In the pyramids for the last few slides, you probably noticed a fair amount of command terms. Understanding those command terms and the differences between the MYP levels. Okay, so you can see there for, let's show you knowing and understanding. In MYP 1, it's a lot of outlining, like summarizing, whereas if you go up to MYP 5, it's more to do with explaining using examples. So it's more challenging. Once they know these command terms and what they mean, and the difference between outlining something and summarizing and explaining, that's a huge step for them to improve their understanding. Just a little one about managing files. As we use ManageBat, the students have to submit lots of files into their Dropbox. This also is connected with their student portfolio. ManageBat does not accept Apple documents, so they always have to be converted to either a Microsoft document or to a PDF. But we generally have many situations where a student has uploaded Pages, which is the Apple document, and it won't open. Okay, so it can only be Microsoft or PDF. Okay, and the last one is very near to my heart, is school sport and ECPs and health and fitness. There's a huge difference between students that do sport for the school or outside sport in classes. It's a really, really good thing for students to be participating in. So many positive attributes that they get from sport and activities like being healthy and being fit, and it really shows in class. Most of our students are in 3 or 4 sports per year, and we have many sports on offer here at Raha, and sometimes we don't have enough players to fill teams, more than just football. Okay, so please contact Coach Des or Miss Andrea, our athletic director, to find out any information about sports teams and ECPs, and definitely persuade your child to participate in sport. Any questions?
Thanks, Jared. Perhaps while Clem is setting up, you'd like to just talk a little bit about some of the performances, like the under-16 rugby boys, I think.
Oh, okay. So I guess most schools in Abu Dhabi are probably in the shadow of schools like BSAC and Cranley for sport. But what we found in the last couple of years, we're starting to not only match those big sports schools, but also overtake them. Okay, so we're offering as I said, a broad range of sports, and we're really improving in things like netball, basketball, rugby, cricket. I think we're one of the best schools for triathlon, and there's lots of things going on with the other Talim schools in Dubai. So there's an activity called Talim Titans, where all of the Talim schools are starting to combine and have trials for big sporting events, both here and overseas. So students do have the opportunity to be selected for a Talim Titans team as well. So it's almost like the next step from the local sports setting to more like a national and international setting, where they can compete against, some really, really good teams. Yes?
Hi. I was a little bit disappointed because there was a tryouts for netball under 12, and it seems nobody showed up for the tryouts, so they canceled the teams. I was I don't know, in other schools, sometimes the teachers, they go after the kids and they just to form a team just to go and play and whatever. For my previous school, the teacher was looking after the girls and just send us an emails because she was insist to do a team. So a school like Raha School, I was really disappointed why this nothing happened. You have also a big school, a lot of students, I think around 200 girls in grade 5, 6, and 7. It's easy just to have 10 girls and just to compete. All the other schools, they have team A and B, and there's no even a team for under 12. And I sent an emails, but there was no response. They respond to me and they told me they will put her under 11 or whatever, but they don't have under 12 team. I was thinking, or what I was expecting from the school, just to go after the girls. You have a PE lesson. They let the girls play netball, and you can find the girls who are good, and you can go and just send them a message. We want you in the team and whatever. So really, as a parent, I was so disappointed of the situation, what happened for the netball under 12. And as I was listening to your speech, I think you take a lot of attention or consideration for the netball or whatever, all the sports. But for me, as a parent, I didn't see that. Thank you.
Okay. That topic's more a subject for the athletic director, but I can help with that answer. Under 12s is one of the most difficult age groups for us to fill, and the reason being is in PYP they have under 11s. Okay, so a lot of the sports that they're playing under 11s at the same time where we're trying to recruit under 12s. So under 12s is only grade 5 and 6. It's not grade 7. Grade 7 is under 14s because they're older. But I know for myself, I'm trying to recruit for rugby, and I've only had one student come, and I've gone to. We do everything to try and recruit. And it wasn't just one trial. There's several trials. There's several notices go out. We've been in contact with the PYP PE teachers to ask at PE lessons and things like that. Unfortunately, we cannot just have a lesson in PE just to recruit for sporting teams. We can't do that. We have to stick to our plans because our school does come first and academics do come first. Okay, but I know that every PE teacher goes out, we spend hardly any lunch times actually having lunch. We spend all of our times talking to students about sport, trying to recruit them into teams. I guarantee you before they would have cancelled under 12s, they would have tried their absolute hardest to get under 12s. I mean, I can also speak to the athletic director as well to see what's happening from your side and trying to assist you. But I do know I was kind of around about when the under 12s netball thing was happening, and they were trying very, very hard to recruit both from primary school and MYP. So I apologise on behalf of PE, but sometimes things like that happen, and there might be one year level that just is really small in numbers for a particular sport.
Okay, thanks so much, Jared. So Ms. Fatima for Language B, welcome.
Thank you. So I've got to speak into that microphone. All right. So, marhaba, hola, bonjour. As you know, at Raha, we teach 3 languages as a language B, which means it's a second language. So it's quite a big department. And today I'd like to talk about the program overall very briefly in those 3 languages. I'd like to clarify what are our criteria in language acquisition. How do students progress through the MYP? And I will talk a little bit about the phases. And what are the expectations per phases? And finally, how can you as parents help? Okay. So first of all, the choice of units that we cover in the MYP is actually done by backward planning. We look at the topics that are needed in the diploma, and we plan backwards starting from grade 10, and then we try and adapt them to make sure that the grade 6 and 7 start with comfortable topics and topics that are easy to discuss. 4 units are taught per year in all these 3 languages. Students will discover as much about the culture, the language, the traditions around the country, and the resources. I often have questions about what type of resources we use. Well, as you know, it's an MYP school, and we create our own assessments. We also create our own resources, our own PowerPoints, especially in the Arabic department. There's never a book that would be catering for all the needs of MYP students, so all our Arabic teachers actually create everything from pretty much from scratch. We use role play, we use vocabulary game, and we often set homework on Quizlet. All units will include reading, writing, speaking activities, because this is what the language acquisition aims are. So some of the units covered this year, just to give you an idea, we have Welcome, Man Ana, Who Am I, Les Sports, Mi Collegio, a variety. And as you can see, as we move down, Victime de la mode, Fashion victime, les relations sociales, social relationship, or le monde du travail, or in Arabic, al-i'lam wa technologia, these topics become harder because we go more into concepts, we go more into debate. What is the effect of man on the environment? To what extent are we fashion victims when we're teenagers? So obviously, first of all, they need to build their vocabulary with easier units in grade 6 and 7 with weather and free time, and then the topics become more demanding, more challenging. In the language acquisition, our four key concepts are called the 4C because they all start with a C. So we have communication, connection, culture, and creativity. And this is very important because more and more we want to try and focus on the conceptual learning in the MYP. So I'm mentioning the key concept, but of course we also focus on our global context and our related concepts. But this particular concept, the key concept, for example, when we talk about relationship, how easy is it to communicate with people from a different background? That could be the unit's start-off question. And these questions are very important because they actually need to be to come back in their listening and reading comprehension assessment. But I will come back to this later. So our criteria in the language acquisition are 4. Criterion A is called comprehending spoken and visual text. In other words, this is a listening criteria. We're testing the ability of the students to understand what they hear. So it's an essential part of learning a language. You need to be able to understand what people say, to be able to communicate and give them an answer. The way we do it, they have to listen to an audio file and they also have to interpret a visual text that would go with it. The picture is there to help. If they can't get everything through the listening, maybe due to accents or the speed, then the picture is also there to help. And this is an MYP requirement. I really think that the MYP has thought about everything. Criterion B is called comprehending written and visual text. And again, there is a reading component and also a help, an aid, with the visual text being there to help students. So especially in phase 1 or 2, especially in phase 1, you can, most of the reading and listening comprehension papers will consist of pictures that they have to match up to words. And in Arabic, this is a great challenge already. It's already starting to become difficult. Okay. So students are asked to think about what is being read, and they need to identify opinions, attitude, values, and sometimes also cultural references. This is why the picture we will show them will be related to the culture that they're studying. So our criteria in MYP are also called the language acquisition aims. Okay, this is the aim of the language. Why are we learning? We're learning because we want to be able to listen and understand, speak, and read and write. Okay. So A and B are the easier criteria. They are what we call the receptive skills. It's always easier to understand a language than it is to speak it. Yeah? And we focus on a variety of aspects, such as understanding the vocabulary, obviously, but also the accents, and understanding sometimes, especially in phase 3 and 4, what is being implied, what has not necessarily been said, but you have to understand through the general context of the reading or the visual text. On the other hand, criteria C and D are the productive skills. This is sometimes the hardest skills. Students have to demonstrate their ability to talk and to write. And if they're shy, they will feel more in their comfort zone when they write. So what we do in the language department is that criteria C and D are being assessed twice orally and twice in writing, so that they can compensate. So C is communicating in response to spoken, written, and visual text. To summarize what the criterion is looking at, it's focusing on being able to speak with confidence, being able to speak fluently without searching for your words, being able to use also verbal and non-verbal language. I speak with my hands, and sometimes it helps to actually pass on a message. And to also speak with a sense of audience. You don't speak the same way when you address an adult than when you address one of your friends. So these are the sort of things that we want the students to be aware of. D is more about the accuracy. When you write, when you speak, you have to try and minimize the grammar mistake that you make. But then again, this is, for most of the students, this is the hardest part, but it's only one out of the 4 criteria. So they can always compensate. As long as they have the vocabulary going, they should be able to get a really decent grade in language acquisition, sorry. Okay? Now, criteria C and D are assessed together. So 2 units will consist of a spoken assessment, as I was mentioning before. It can be a discussion, it can be a role play, an interview, or a speech. Another 2 units will consist of a written assessment, such as to start with the easy task, to write a letter or to write an email to a friend, to write a leaflet, the difficulty increases slightly, to write an article. This is actually based on the requirements for the diploma, so we start preparing them in grade 9 or in 10, and then writing a blog or a speech. So to give you an idea of what sort of assessment can take place. All our assessment, also in the language acquisition department, they all take place in class. We don't do anything at home. So they can prepare at home. They will know in advance roughly what the topic is about. It might be varied a little bit to make them, especially in grade 9 and 10, we want them to be able to adapt to different situations, because in the diploma they won't know in advance what is the assessment. So in grade 9 and 10 we start preparing them on topics that they would not necessarily have covered fully in class. They will have covered the vocabulary but not the situation. Sorry. So in terms of progression of skills and knowledge, for criterion A and B, they will start by using basic vocabulary, then to using language effectively. Simple text will become a wide range of text. Understanding and responding will end up being analyzing and responding. Identify and recognizing, they will be expected to understand and interpret. And finally, criterion C and D, when they have to interact, at first, as I was mentioning, the discussion will be rehearsed, which means they will know exactly what will be the role play, but they'll have to perform on the day. And then eventually, in grade 9 and 10, we will give them the rough concept. So, for example, it's about the environment. You'll have to talk about what are the advantages, the disadvantages in a situation. We don't tell them, for example, if they'll have to address their friends at school or if they have to address an adult audience. So that is adapting the audience, for example. But the vocabulary itself, they will always be prepared for it. Okay? So I'd like to talk briefly about phases, but I think it's such a complicated matter that I'm happy to answer questions also by email later on, because we often have questions about phases. So in French and Spanish, beginners start in phase 1 and they start in grade 6. When they become a capable learner, they are moving on to phase 2 to 3. Proficient, based on the MYP guide, it's from you reach phase 4 and 5. Grade 10, we have students that will be in phase 2 and 3. Some of them will be in phase 4. And phase 4, it's important to notice that you need to be in phase 4 to be able to consider taking the language, Spanish or French, at a higher level in the diploma. In Arabic, beginners can be up to 2 academic years in phase 1 because the script, the alphabet is different, so they can spend 2 years in phase 1. By MYP guide, this is absolutely recommended, actually. Phase 2 and 3 is at a capable level. Proficient will be in phase 4. And again, if students in grade 10 are at a phase 3-4, they may be taking diploma classes in Arabic. Mr. Asim is also here, and he can give you more information about this since he's also teaching that level. Now, phase 1 to 3, it's different to French and Spanish because the alphabet is different. Students are entitled to take Arabic or Arabic. If they were in a phase 1 to 3, they are entitled to take the course at an initial level because it's still very, very challenging. Very briefly, I won't spend too long on that, but again, I'm happy to answer questions. the difficulty increases as you move on phase. So as you can see, if you are in phase 4, you will be expected in French and Spanish to write between 200 to 250 words, whereas in Arabic, you start in phase 1 writing at the end of the phase between 60 to 120 words. They might start writing 20 to 40 words, depending, but most of our students have studied Arabic in the PYP, so we're building on their knowledge. And same with reading comprehension. The length of text will be different based on the language, is it Roman characters or not, and also based on the phase. Okay. So how can you, as a parent, help your child? I mean, first of all, it's important to make sure that your child is reviewing what was covered in class regularly. And even if your child is telling you there is no homework, the homework will always be to revise the previous lesson to make sure they're ready for the next lesson and they have understood the vocabulary and they're ready to use it to move on to a higher expectation. The homework might be to just revise on Quizlet vocabulary as well. When assessments are posted, I really recommend that you make sure your child has practiced orally at least once. Even if you don't understand, just listen to them, because that will give them the confidence needed. We always do a trial in class, but the more they do, the better. And also, if they have a writing assessment, make sure they have written at least one draft. Okay? It comes with practice. The more we write, the more we remember. The other thing for Arabic, this year, one of our Arabic teacher, Ms. Kaufar, is offering an ECP for adults, for parents who want to learn Arabic. I think it was so popular that it was fully booked within one day of being advertised, but hopefully we can always offer it the next semester. So I think as parents, if you want to help your child learning Arabic, it's always a good idea to learn with them, basically. And finally, it's very important if you speak another language at home to maintain that language, because the more languages your child is speaking, the more language they're exposed to, the better they will be at learning another language. And from experience, our Spanish speakers or our Arabic speakers, the students that speak another language at home, they're used to learning a new structure when they look at another language. They're very confident. And it doesn't actually, as we used to think maybe 50 years ago, that you should not speak your mother tongue language at home. That's over. Research has proven that the more languages you're exposed to, the better you are at learning another language. So, do we have any questions? Yes.
Hello? Okay. We recently moved like 5-7 months ago from United States, and for my children, Arabic was really an issue. This is their second year here, so I don't know how we can help them because we are non-Arabic people and we don't speak it at home. And would there be some extra, classes for them, essentially for people like them, so that they can get together and speak Arabic after school?
I believe there is always an ECP class offered to help students with their Arabic. I think that's something we'll have to check, to double check also what grade your child is in. I'm pretty sure that I saw one ECP class offered to support Arabic. Mr. Asim, yes.
Hi. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry for this. السلام عليكم اسمي عاصم أنا مسؤول اللغة العربية والإسلامية والاجتماعيات في مدرسة الراحة. My name is Asim, head of Arabic and Islamic at school here, and I'm just trying to answer that question for students who are beginners. They are doing phase 1, maybe phase 2. We have the learning assistant room that we use with the students, grade 6 to 10. We have 2 teachers there, and basically we send students when they work with the teachers maybe twice a week to work with them and try to help them finish maybe phase 1 until at the beginning of phase 2. This is just to make sure that you contact the teacher, and if you want to see me here after this, give me the names and I'll make sure that the teacher knows that the students go to that room.
Hi, Mr. Asim. I believe there is this support, learning support for students they go to if they are really under level. But as the lady said, we need some conversation classes after school, within school. Kids get together, teachers talk. My kids are native Arabic. They are really, really bad in Arabic. From PYP, they did not have this base of talking, of understanding, of help they needed. Now my daughter struggles. She's in grade 7. She's phase 1 or 2. She should take Arabic in the GP, obviously, because she is Arabic A. And she cannot do that. Her problem is not academically. Academically, you help them. But they don't know how to talk, to express themselves. They don't have vocabulary. We talk Arabic at home, but my dialect is different than their father's. TV, maids, homework, school, friends, everything is in English. We need some support with oral language, understanding and talking. Plus academically support, but it's really important that they get used to it with friends, with school, because school teaches. At home, we teach them manners, we teach them other stuff, but academics, they learn it in school. And if they cannot do it in school, they cannot do it at home. Thank you. They're in Arabic A. Well, it's, yeah, also I have problem with Arabic A. I mean, your problem, Arabic
Yeah,
B,
yes.
the problem is worse.
It's, yeah, this is,
Have to take Arabic A because they are,
yeah.
and they are really.
Yeah, this is about language acquisition, and we are going to have another session for Arabic A next week. Or if you want to see me بعد هذه أنا وياك نتكلم. شكرا.
We can extend this for Arabic B as well, because my son is 9 years now in the school since EY1. He always used to be in phase 4. Now there are no phases. They're all together in grade 7 or something like that. He told me that they're both phase 1 and 2 in class. They just did an assessment test to see what everybody knows, but they are still all together. They're not in different classes. And what the other parents said, I agree completely. 7 years or 8 of taking Arabic here in this school and in this country still cannot communicate. And he's supposed to be in the higher level every year. I think with Spanish, which he started last year, he's already doing better. And don't tell me that Arabic is a difficult language. We live in an Arabic country. And after 7 years, and we don't speak English at home, we don't speak Arabic, we don't speak German, we don't speak Spanish, still in every other language he progresses. 7 years is a long period, and it's, I think, excuse me, but I think it's ridiculous to start grade 7 and do the alphabet again, and combination of 3 letters to make words after 8 years of taking Arabic in an Arabic country.
Thanks. A lot of salient points there. Do you want to comment on anything?
Just, yeah, this is grade 7 in language acquisition again in the 3 languages, as Ms. Fatima explained that. We do have all phases together. In some classes we have phase 1 and 2 together, then phase maybe 2, 3 at the same point. They study the same units with different expectations. Now about the 7 learning Arabic for 7 years and you don't accept that it's difficult. It's not difficult. It's different. The language is different. This is why in the MYP guide, Arabic is identified as one of the non-Roman alphabetical languages, and they have different things along with the Korean, with the Mandarin and Cantonese. This is how we see things between teachers, students in Arabic classes, Arabic A and B. the first contact should be the teacher when you ask to the teacher to give you some specific, expectations at the end of the class. I'm trying to link the question to the question before. When it comes to the speaking and communicating in the language, we are trying to stick to what we have from the MYP. For example, students in grade 7 in phase 2, they are expected at the end of that class, they are expected to use this, the amount of words. They are expected to write 200 words, for example, or to communicate for 90 seconds. This is what we have. This is what we have from the MYP, and this is what we have from Ministry of Education. If you want to discuss this, the specific expectations and goal for your child, you need to see the teacher. I was there last year. I'm more than happy to see you after this if you have any individual case. Anyway, I don't want to waste more time. Last year, I'm talking about the MYP Arabic A and B, all the way to grade 11 and 12. We have achieved some outstanding in Arabic A and B, MYP and DP external assessments. We are achieving more than the world average in diploma, and we have all of our students in Arabic A and B passed the Ministry of Education external examination last year in Arabic and Islamic. Arabic A and Islamic A, Arabic B and Islamic B. If you have any individual question, I'm more than happy to stay here and see you.
Just to let you know that teachers are really, really, really working hard, Arabic A and Arabic B. But the problem comes from the student. Some of them, they're not taking it seriously. I know from my son. Even though teachers are doing hard work, giving extra work, but some students, they are not practicing, to be honest with you. And when it comes, they already have like 3 hours, 4 hours a week in Arabic. If they are not practicing at home, listening, reviewing, they will not get the Arabic. It's very, very hard language. I'm originally Lebanese. I speak Arabic. I'm Canadian as well. My son also struggles with Arabic, but at home we're trying to talk in Arabic, listen, even music sometimes. You can just translate the words, no more. But I'm telling you, it comes from the student first, parents second, and then the teacher. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatima and Mr. Assam. Just before I forget, those who didn't come to the first session, I think I handed out some of these. If you'd like to pick one of these up at the end, it's just a summary of the sessions coming up. Put it on your fridge. Right, Mr. Clem, over to you. Mathematics.
Good morning. So my name's Clement Mustin. I'm the head of the maths faculty this year. Just going to run through in the same order as the previous presenters. Just going through the, the progression of skills and knowledge through the MYP. So, in grade 6, we've got 5 units, which is, as you can see there, the language of numbers, data management, an introduction to algebra, angles, fractions, decimals, and percentages. So it's really trying to build on what they've already learnt in the PYP, and just give them a broad base of mathematical skills and knowledge as they go forward. I've got up here also in the second side, the approaches to learning. It's a big focus in the MYP this year. So not just the mathematical skills and knowledge, but communication, collaboration, self-management, media literacy is a big one in grade 6 this year, critical and creative thinking. So those are kind of the ways that the students are approaching the content and the concepts that they're learning in the classroom. There's 130-something different skills, so I've just kind of put the 5 broad categories that we're using in grade 6. I believe all the more specific ones with examples of how we're using them in class are on ManageBack if you want to get kind of more details on that. Just moving up into grade 7, transfer skills as well, sorry. So that's just applying the skills that they have and trying to transfer them into contexts and situations where they may not be familiar with. More about that in a bit. In grade 7, fractions, decimals, and percentages, again building on grade 6, patterns in algebra, area and volume, probability, and equations and straight line graphs. Down the right-hand side here, this is virtually the same thing in the approaches to learning, because I kind of went with the broad categories, although I put information literacy rather than media literacy. It's just a slightly different focus in grade 7. And then also critical and creative thinking and transfer skills. At this point when I was making my presentation, I realized that they were very similar all the way through. So the approaches to learning the ATL skills are building on each other year by year, but it's just to make sure that by the end of grade 10, students will be aware of their ways they are learning, the approaches, and have reflected on them and understand the skills that they use to learn new knowledge and new skills, and then kind of can apply that in the diploma. So that won't appear on the next few slides. There's other information that needs to be there. So moving up into grade 8, they have 6 units, starting with geometric transformations, which is just about finished this year, algebraic expressions, equations and formulae, statistics and data management, coordinate geometry, angles and Pythagoras, and exponents and scientific notation. So that's the units of knowledge. And then we also have in grade 8 an interdisciplinary unit with the design department. And in this, the students are designing their own Formula 1 car using, I think I'd put it on here, nope, using computer-aided design software. So that's something, relatively innovative at this stage, and it's an assessment where they will be graded and not in an in-class assessment. There's very few examples in the MYP maths where we give assessment grades for, I guess, non-test situations, but there's a few more coming about now, which is a great opportunity for some of the more creative students who maybe don't manage tests as well as others to really kind of, lift their grades and show what they can do. So this is a really good one for them. Another one is also the full service action cycle. So in every grade, grades 6, 7, and 8, one curriculum subject has a full service action cycle, which is part of the MYP, of course. And in grade 8, it's maths, and it comes up in the statistics unit, which will be just around winter break time. And that's issues in globalization and sustainability. So students will create, either by themselves or with a partner, a presentation looking at statistically the impact humans are having on the world, whether it's positive or negative. Another opportunity for students to show their skills in mathematics, not just in a test situation, but where they can present and research and really try and I guess influence other people with the things they've found out. Moving up into grade 9, so the MYP maths splits into 2 sections in grade 9. So I've just noted down here, because diploma higher level maths is so challenging and requires so much prior knowledge, we've basically designed a 2-year preparation program which starts with grade 9 extended maths. And out of the 6 classes in grade 9, 2 of those take extended maths, which is about 55 students, keeping in mind that when the diploma higher level class starts in grade 11, we normally have about 15 to 18. So there's quite a high attrition rate, and that's not unusual, and it just reflects how difficult that course is. Selection is based, as it says there, on the data we've got from students from grades 6, 7 and 8. We have a lot of new students coming every year, and especially in grade 9. So we look at the chem data, which is their entrance data, so that if students have extremely high entrance scores, they can be put into those classes. I think I pointed out on a different slide, but not every student at this stage who wants to be in the extended maths class can be in the extended maths class. We probably had 70 to 75 who wanted a place this year, but it's a very fluid model. It's a 2-year course, but if they really want to take high-level maths, the thing to keep in mind for you and for them is that they need to be in extended maths basically by the end of grade 10. So I guess if you have a child in grade 9 who wants to do extended maths and is not there right now, you've probably had an email from me about that the opportunity will present itself. Anyway, the units in grade 9 extended maths: algebraic expressions and equations, quadratic equations, coordinate geometry, exponents and logarithms, sets, Venn diagrams, and probability. Yep, that's the course there. That comes out of grade 8 and into grade 10 extended maths, which is slightly different from grade 9 standard maths. Just the point here about standard maths is that it's kind of a preparation course for standard level maths in the diploma. There are 4 classes. That's the other 4 out of 6 that are not doing extended maths. Oh, and this is where I've put the note that you might want to read there. There's a lot of movement between classes in grade 9 and 10. And the units for grade 9 standard maths. algebraic equations, linear and simultaneous equations, trigonometry, exponents and surds, Venn diagrams, and probability. I think there's only 5 units in grade 9 standard. Grade 10, so this is in extended maths, the second year of diploma high level maths preparation. Again, 2 classes. It's not a guarantee if a student's in grade 9 extended, it's not a guarantee that they just carry on into grade 10 extended. A lot of students say who take grade 9 standard show that they have the ability and the work ethic and the motivation to do maths at a high level, and so it's often at the end of grade 9 students will be moved from grade 9 standard into grade 10 extended, and similarly some students who were in grade 9 extended start the year in grade 10 in the standard class, basically because someone else has earned that place, and it's probably in that student's best interest to be in the grade 10 standard class. It's much better to be getting success in a standard level class than to be kind of desperately trying to keep your head above water in an extended class. But again, there's examples in the past where a student's been in grade 9 extended, they've dropped down to grade 10 standard, and then halfway through grade 10 they're back up into the extended class. So it's again a very fluid model, like 2-year course, just to make sure we get the right people in the right place by grade 11. Here's the units here for grade 10. Parabolas, quadratics, other functions, statistics, circular functions and trigonometry, binomial extensions, sequences and series. There's a lot of units in grade 10 extended vectors. It just emphasizes how much prior knowledge at quite a high level you really need to have just to do high level maths in the diploma. So a lot of stuff there. And I just skipped over also the interdisciplinary unit. We have 2 in maths, 1 in grade 8 with design, and we have 1 in grade 10 now with PE about personal health and fitness, and using statistical analysis to see how a particular program of diet and exercise designed by the student themselves, how it will impact their own development over the course of 4 to 6 weeks, and also looking at the data from their classmates to see if they can kind of find a trend amongst all their class. So again, that's a great one, applying maths to a real life situation and an opportunity for students to gain credit in various criteria, not in a test situation. Just one more slide on the actual units and the curriculum progression. Grade 10 standard maths, and that's the second year of the DP standard level course with the 4 classes that are not doing extended maths. They do also the same interdisciplinary unit with PE, and they have 5 topics: trigonometry, statistics, functions, probability, and this one is an and/or. They either do logarithmic functions at the end of the year or financial maths and logic. And historically, this has been because in grade 11 there are actually 3 maths courses. It has always been in the diploma the only of the groups that has 3 levels of subject. So at the end of grade 10 we've been saying, okay, students who look like they're going towards standard level maths would take logarithmic functions as prior knowledge, whereas students looking at the mathematical studies course would be taking financial maths and logic at the end of grade 10 to prepare for that. But that is changing next year, which I'll get to at some point in the not too distant future. Oh, here we go. The future was closer than I thought. Pathways from grade 10. So next year there's going to be 2 different maths courses. One's called Analysis and Approaches, and this could be suitable for students whose university course is strongly mathematics related, and it's likely that we'll offer this course at standard level and higher level, which is not dissimilar from this year. High level, and just the same as previous years, so keep this in mind and remind your children. We'll also, at our meetings with grade 10, tell them this, as I tell them in class every week. If they really want to do higher level maths in the diploma, they need to be getting a 6 in Criterion A in grade 10 extended maths. If they want to do the standard level option, again, it's demanding. They probably need to get a 6 in Criterion A in grade 10 standard maths, or have completed the grade 10 extended course. We would accept that as entry into this course. The other option next year is applications and interpretations. So from the IB, they've split maths into 2 sides. Both have SL, standard level and higher level options. There's no mathematical studies anymore. There had been complications with students taking studies in the past, and European universities particularly not accepting it as an entrance criteria, which caused difficulty for students mainly because some students should not have been taking the SL course because it wasn't right for them, but they just felt they had to so they could get into their European university of choice. So this year the goal is that there will be 2 different strands of maths, both SL, both HL, and universities won't be turning away students from either side of this, which is good. We're likely, however, to offer this applications and interpretation at standard level only. This is suitable for students who do require maths to get into university, but they don't require it for their course choice or major. And again, as in the past, towards the end of grade 10, we try to direct students to the course we think is suitable for them. Although we do understand that students and their parents have ideas about what you would like your child to do, or what they have ideas about what they want to do in the future, and maybe they disagree with us, and we will always go with what the student wants and support them as much as we can. So please keep that in mind. We're not going to just try to push someone into a course that they don't want to do. Okay, I've just put together a slide here which might look a bit painful, but just to quickly show the progression, because I think maths is one of those subjects that builds kind of from year to year. You've got to have the prior knowledge to keep building from one to the other. I think it's more important, this progression, than it is in maybe other subjects, that if you miss something, it's very hard to keep building in mathematics, because you've kind of got that brick at the bottom of the wall missing, and it weakens your foundations. But just to show, from those are the units in grade 6, and so just showing where they lead into in terms of going in towards grade 7 and 8. So these arrows are just showing what those units are kind of going towards. So it shows that it's building, but it also shows the kind of complex nature of maths, that all of these units inform other units. And really, there's lots of complicated links between all sorts of subjects, and I could argue that algebra is very important in statistics, or number skills are very important in geometry. So it's just showing a little bit of that. I did a little bit of this on grade 7 as well, just to show these ones kind of going here. There's not always necessarily a straight progression from a topic in one year to the next. For example, you can see there probability in grade 7. We don't do probability in grade 8. But we come back to it in grade 9 and 10. So that's kind of where the grade 7 probability unit leads to. Yeah, it was getting a bit messy there with all the red arrows, so I apologize for that. And I didn't do it on this slide, but just to show the progression, down the right-hand side, I've got grade 9 extended and grade 10 extended. On the left side here, grade 9 standard maths. This is where grade 9 standard maths feeds into the grade 10 standard course. And then that would take you towards either analysis and approaches at SL level, or applications and interpretations at SL level. Whereas if you're in the grade 9 standard classes, at this point, I was kind of tired of red arrows at this point, so I stopped doing that. I said the grade 9 extended course really just builds straight into the grade 10 extended course, and grade 10 extended can open up the options for students of analysis and approaches at higher level, or at standard level, or if they want applications and interpretations at standard level, would be no problem there at all. So yeah, that's the summary of the progression of skills and knowledge and approaches to learning from grade 6 to 10. I need to now just have a look at the 4 criteria which are on the board there. I'll go into a bit of detail about these. So obviously there are 4 criteria, A, B, C, D, like all subjects. In maths, criterion A is knowledge and understanding. I've put here a note, it might be what you remember from school. I think traditionally it's kind of like a test of what you know and what you understand. So you may be familiar with that. It's only one of our 4 criteria. But also it's important to note that in the IB, these assessments must always include unfamiliar questions, unfamiliar situations, that students have to apply what they know to something that they haven't seen before or haven't done before, like a transfer skill. And it's an important note for parents, I think. I've had many parents I've discussed with in the past, and I've said, I can't understand why my child got a 6. They did everything that you asked. They did every piece of homework. They've done every bit of work, but they only got a 6. But it's just a fact that some students have all that knowledge and all that understanding, but they are just not able to kind of make that leap to apply that knowledge to an unfamiliar situation. And that's something we kind of can't teach. We can kind of try and teach that skill, but we can't say, these are the kind of questions you'll get in the level 7 and 8 section, so this is what you need to do, because it completely defeats the purpose of having level 7 and 8 questions. It's really to identify those students who can make that leap. I've just put here the word content, and like I think Ms. Fatima said about all the C's were the important things. Through the criteria, the letter C is very important here. I've just circled the word content, not that it's only about content, but it is kind of a theme in criterion A. Criterion B is investigating patterns, and this is the assessment of their ability to discover and explain and verify patterns. This one always takes students into unfamiliar territory, and it's the one that the students kind of have the most difficulty with. It's the most difficult to prepare for, and it's the one where most commonly I've had parents inquire with me afterwards, you didn't teach that. How can you expect them to do it in an assessment? But the idea of a criterion B is that students use knowledge and understanding that they have, answer a series of questions, and then they see, hopefully, they see the patterns and the work and the answers that they've got and try and explain, what is this pattern? What's happening? Why is it happening? Can I make a rule or a formula that would work to extrapolate from this? Can I verify that this pattern will work in the future by using other examples? So it's a very difficult criteria, and we do try to give students as much help as possible in just exposing them to example and formative criterion B situations, but not on the same content. And I've put the word concept here because it's really looking at the concepts. Can you understand the concept enough to kind of go into the unknown with it? So a couple of C words there, content and concept. Moving into criterion C, which is mathematical communication. This one is, I put almost always, but it's always assessed with another criterion. I don't think any of our grades have a strict criterion C assessment. It's always going to be a criteria B and C together, or a C and D, or an A and C. And this is just assessing students' ability to explain things mathematically, and that can take a variety of forms: use of language, correct working, showing diagrams and graphs, and also, say, for example, in our IDU unit, it will be in their project, the way they present their work, or in the essay service action they do in grade 8 about how well they present their ideas, and in terms of a PowerPoint or something like that. And I've put these are words straight off the rubric from criterion C in maths. You know, to be really good in this criteria, to get 7s and 8s, you need to do correct work, but it needs to be clear and it needs to be concise. Some students lose marks in criteria C because they write 4 pages when 3 lines would have done the job. So concise is important, and coherent. So it's about clarity. Look, there's a 5th word. That's outstanding. So it's all these C words again, but that's all for communication. And finally, criterion D, applying maths in real life context. Relatively self-explanatory, this one. So it's their ability to apply maths in various situations and answer questions to really get the best marks in criterion D. It's not just kind of saying, you know, measuring the height of a building. That would be a real life context. But like, does the answer you get make sense? Does the answer you have any limitations in real life? So it's thinking about things like that, you know, like to a very low extent, maybe kind of engineering applications are something we like to focus on a little bit. So yeah, and I put here context. So I mean, it's in the name of the criteria there. So another C word there. Content, concept, context, correct, clear, concise, coherent. The letter C is a really good word in criteria, especially in maths. So that's the criteria explained, to some extent, hopefully. And finally, how can you help your child in maths? And I think the other said this too: check Manage Back daily, or regularly if you can. You know, it contains upcoming assessment dates, all the results from students' assessments, and feedback comments from teachers about how they can improve, which is a very important part of the assessment cycle, that reflection. It'll have their homework content and deadlines on the calendar or in the messages, and all the resources posted by teachers, worksheets, PowerPoints, links to websites, a lot of things like that. I really do want to promote the use of Manage Back because it's the best way to keep informed. And as teachers, we want you to know when an assessment's coming up, because if you know an assessment's coming up, then you can help your students and it'll help their success. We want you to know when the marks and the feedback are up, because if you can sit with your child and talk about what they need to do to improve and maybe a strategy for doing that, that's going to really help them. It's going to help us. I think it's good to keep in mind that there's no other departments here that I can offend. I don't think I know Ms. Fatima's here, but like maths teachers seem, I think, to teach the most different classes at the most different grade levels. For example, I'm thinking Dr. James, one of our teachers here, he teaches from grade 6 all the way to grade 12. He's got 7 maths classes and an advisory class. So he sees 210 different students on a weekly basis while trying to think from a grade 6 level, planning up to a grade 12 level, and to kind of, he tries his best. I mean, we all do our best to try to make sure every parent knows what's coming up, what's happened, and keep them in the loop. But the more you look at Manage Back, the more it helps us to make sure that we're all on the same page and know what's best for helping your child. Just some other things as well as ManageBack. We use My iMaths in the MYP. It's a website that we subscribe to where we can assign tasks, and they've linked all their learning to the MYP, so we can kind of just every curriculum content piece that we have, we can assign tasks on My iMaths. We do of course get homework from textbooks and worksheets and things as well, but some students definitely prefer My iMaths, and some students unquestionably get more success when they use My iMaths, and they can get the instant feedback from doing that, and the opportunity to kind of repeat a task 6 times if they want, and every time they refresh it they're getting different questions, different numbers, and getting instant feedback when they finish about how well they've done. Yes, another one, how to help your child communicate with their teacher by email if necessary, and if you have any questions you can always email me. I'm always happy to get feedback from teachers or questions or concerns and to reply to those. Also, this went out in the newsletter a couple of weeks ago. Extra Maths happens in my classroom, F17, every Wednesday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. We've got a cluster of grade 11 high-level math students, about 15 to 18, who have volunteered, and normally 4 to 5 are there every Wednesday to help with the younger students who need help with maths, so that's really fantastic. I think there was one more thing on here. Yeah, this is something I mentioned in my newsletter also, that a handful, maybe 5 to 10 of those grade 11s have volunteered. They said they could be available for one-on-one tutoring or mentoring of MYP students upon request. So at the moment we have 2 students in the MYP who are doing one-on-one tutoring on a weekly basis with a couple of grade 11s. So there's an opportunity there. It's probably limited because we don't have kind of 100 grade 11s to tutor 100 6 to 10s. But the opportunity is there for parents or students who request that. That's me. Question time. Hi. Sorry. I had to get a cat into my presentation somewhere.
Hi. Ages ago, when I was going to school, when we wrote a test, the teacher graded it and handed it back so we could see, take it to the parents and study the mistakes and the notes. And this goes not only for math, this goes for every lesson in the school, every subject. Couldn't the teachers upload the test, the assignment on ManageBack as well, with the comments and the circles and the not only the grade and these bars that they give, but also see the test, because it makes sense to see the comments and exactly where they refer to.
I think Mr. Vaughan's itching to answer this one.
I am indeed. So each subject area has their own ManageBack policy and assessment policy, which covers exactly that issue. Okay, that's one of my big pushes this year, because in previous years we've said to all subjects, right, you have to photocopy or get students to take photos of all their assessments and upload it onto their portfolio. It just becomes a logistical nightmare. So for some subjects, the assessments are already digital, so that's fine. For maths, okay, it's not. So the students will do a detailed reflection on each of their assessments. The reflection sheet will get put on ManageBack. If a parent wants to see the assessment, no problem. Okay, that request will be granted. But we're not going to just send all the assessments home, it's particularly earlier in the year, because it's just, it becomes problematic in terms of trying to collect them. And I mean, if the child wants to take a photo of it, that's fine as well. So we live in a digital age. Most of the students do have these scanner apps on their phones, and their hands are going up rapidly here. So can I just
Okay, and just to follow up on what you said, if the kids will do their reflection of what the teacher told them, we need something from the teacher, direct from the teacher to us. Doesn't go through the kid. Yeah, we want to get the feel of the teacher, of the comment, of something. Yeah, everything's becoming digital, and it's becoming more complicated on us. We need something. We need to see. We need to feel. It's not that the kid will transfer what he thinks the teacher told him to do. We need to see what the teacher thinks of what my kid did. So, I mean, direct, maybe. I mean, direct comments, direct marks.
Well, that's where Managback comes in. You will have comments from the teachers on Managback. You
Also,
mean
if
you
you-
mean the actual test?
It's not there. Not there. We don't know. I see the feedback, but there is no feedback here.
I mean, it comes down to the nature of the assessment, of course. Sometimes it will just say, see feedback, in which case, if you're not seeing the feedback, okay, clearly you need to be angry about that and contact the parent, not be angry about it. But the problem is we can't have a blanket rule across all subject areas. So in maths, I know it is quite a unique subject, and parents are more sensitive and more interested in maths. So, yes, if you want to see the assessment, and some parents do, some parents don't. It's not a case of we all want to see it all the time. Please request it. It's not a problem. We can easily scan it and send it.
Or we can photocopy it and give it to your child to take home.
Yeah, the only problem I've got is that we were in Singapore before and we're here now, is that some kids in Singapore, they have the test within the same week. But there are kids, and here sometimes there's 2 weeks in between the same grade when they have almost the same test. There are children that sell or charge, so their friend can get sort of knowledge about the tests coming up. So if the kids would be able to scan in the test with the comments and everything, and the other kids in another grade, they haven't had their test yet. Well, they are. I'm sorry, my daughter is in grade 10. It happened in Singapore, and it happens here.
I mean,
Unfortunately, but that is what the truth is. I know.
pretty much in terms of assessment, we try in each grade to have all classes take the test in the same week. We try as best we can to do that, and sometimes it doesn't happen exactly that way. We also do often have absences for various reasons from assessments, and yeah, although we try to keep a policy, there's a balance here we can't quite win. I'm thinking about not the whole class doing the test later, but I'm thinking of absent students. Our policy is we want to get feedback and marks back to parents and students within a week of finishing the test, but then we often have students maybe who don't take the test because they're absent for a long period of time until maybe more than a week later. So we can't hold back the test, but then there is the opportunity maybe for collusion at some level. I don't know what the best solution for that is. We can, in Criterion A, say if we had a supplementary test later on for students who missed the original assessment, we could change the numbers and things. It's not possible in other criteria. But like all students say have 2 double periods of maths a week. And for example, in grade 9, if they're arranging a test date, they'll say we're all going to do it in the second lesson of week 5. And that's about as best we can do. Sometimes that might be a day or 2 difference, but it should never be more than kind of a day or 2 difference. It should always be in the same week. As much as we possibly can, we try and do that.
Hi, my son is in grade 6, so he's new to the is it MYP? Now, first of all, they only get 2 days a week of math, right? For 2 by 2, right?
2 double lessons, yeah.
2 doubles, and that's dictated by ADIC, or is it an IB thing?
It's not. I don't believe it's an ADIC thing or an IB thing, but because good.
Okay, for all MYP subjects, grades 6 to 8, we're supposed to have 50 hours a week per subject, and we actually do more than that. Not a week, sorry. 50 hours of tuition. And then 70 hours in grade 9 and 10. So if you do all the calculations, we are doing it right there. It does seem, I know to some parents, you are used to, and I was as well, having maths more frequently during the week. And it is possible that the timetable has maths on, say, a Thursday and a Sunday, and then there's breaks in between, or say a Tuesday, and then only the following Sunday or whatever. So it can, trust me, the timetable is the most complicated thing to do in an MYP or an IB school. But we do try and avoid too many really problematic issues like that.
My next part of the question is map the diagnostic tests. Now, my son just jumped from the PYP to the MYP. Day one in school, they went into a diagnostic test. According to him, it was like the very first day of school, literally. The teacher sat them down and gave them a test, and I kind of figured it was a diagnostic test. So I haven't gotten any feedback whatsoever on anything in math, honestly. And this is week 5 of the year. I just feel like I'm a little bit in the dark when it comes to my son's math. And I know you're saying manage back. I promise you, I am up to date on his manage back. I am keeping up with, I'm asking him daily. I think I'm doing everything I need to do as a mom. But as you know, boys don't really talk too much. So it's kind of hard to kind of find out what's going on. So I want to know the diagnostic test. There was a CEM, right?
That was last week, I believe, that
Yeah,
Mr. Mick ran that data diagnostic test.
And there was that first day test that happened. What is that? What's going on? When it comes to assessments, like the assessments we understand, where we can, like they said, see where's do they have any concepts that they need to be focused on? Where can I help him? What can I do? Is he good or not? I have no idea if my son's good in math or not.
So yeah, the diagnostic test that you're talking about, we want to do that in grade 6 as early as possible, just so we could get an idea of where the students' strengths and weaknesses were, so that we can kind of, I guess, group them with other students who they can work at the same level, and so that we know that we kind of say, these students, you need to do a bit more work on this, but these guys over here don't need to, so we'll give them something else to do. That's pretty much it, yeah. Just so we know that information. It's not a summative assessment. It's not one where they're getting a grade for that's going on ManageBack. As soon as they did that test, when they clicked submit, each student instantly got an email back with their grade and which questions they got right and wrong. So the student themselves were able to see within 2 minutes of finishing where their strengths and weaknesses were, which is good feedback for them as well as the teacher. Yeah, the first week was difficult too, because ManageBack wasn't even up and running in the first week. It often takes a bit of time as we kind of get students in the right classes and students who were thought to have been at school when they're actually not at school. Some teachers actually change which classes they're teaching. So all of that needs to be assigned on ManageBack, and I believe that it's administered from the states, and so if they need to make the kind of changes, we need to email information to the states, and they make the changes when they see it, maybe 12 hours later when the daytime, and then they email back and say, yep, the changes are made. Hopefully he's not deleted the email, but yeah, it would have gone directly to his school email address. And again, that's another thing we tell students, they should check their school email daily. But yes, you should see 4 weeks ago an email that he would have got in his school emails saying what his score was. I do apologize for that. I definitely want to keep you as informed as possible, but I'm saying on the first or second day of school, I don't know how you could have known that, so I apologize.
Yeah, again, I completely agree with her. We're completely in the dark, the communication. I think we're so used to getting emails on every assessments that are usually happening when they were in the PYP, as compared to what's happening now, we hardly know what's happening. So it's just imagining that the assessments are happening. Like, I'm being very honest. I think many of the moms can agree with me on this.
I think so far, like grade 7 are the only class who have actually done an assessment, like a summative assessment.
Okay, again, my son just moved into grade 6 this year, so getting used to the MYP concept and just easing into this itself, it's been a bumpy ride for me and my son so far. And the other question was regarding the chem assessment. So is this more for your reference, or is this something for us to No, we just have no idea what the chem assessments are. If you can
Yeah,
tell me a bit more
I'm very
about
much
that.
looking forward
Thank you.
I'm very much looking forward to getting the results of the chem assessments, because it's going to give me a lot of information and the grade 6 team about more data really on where students are at, and where their strengths and weaknesses lie, and so we can identify who maybe should be sitting together in class, who can be extended a little bit more, and we will be introducing kind of a more formal, rigorous extension program, which is actually up and running now from next week in grades 7 to 10. But in grade 6, we need that chem data to identify which students can be extended, which maybe need more inclusion help, say at the other end. So, yeah, I would say from your point of view, maybe the chem data may be interesting as like to know where your child is at percentile wise, but it's more, I would say, more for teaching value. Well, if we find if we find some students in grade 6 are just completely bored in class because the work is too easy for them, and that might happen in like maybe with 5 students out of 160, then yeah, we will definitely look to extend those students rather than, just it's part of the normal teacher's work in the class, but some students go way beyond that.
Well, hopefully
Thanks for the
his
feedback.
results will show that, as well as his diagnostic, as well as the chem. And then, I mean, we can't get everything 100% right in the first 4 weeks. There's 39 weeks in the year. We will be picking up on different students at different stages, guaranteed. And there are small groups that get taken out. Otherwise, they will work together in small groups in the classroom and do different work. My son's in grade 4. He can do half the grade 6 work. Unfortunately, not everyone is a math genius. There are people that struggle a lot. So it's one of those subjects. It's such a variety. So the best is just to communicate with your teachers, please, and make sure you are happy, because we do try and cater for every single student. Okay, there are almost 1,000 students in the MYP, but if anyone's slipping through, please let us know. Any more questions? Okay.
How do we ask about that? Is it through the homeroom, through the math teacher?
No, just email me directly, because I've got a group of grade 11 students who, if I get a request, I will just go and say I need a volunteer.
Okay.
And then
is it after school
no,
or
it's just
during
I just get the 2
recess
students.
time?
For example, if you were interested, I would just get your child at one of the grade 11. They would negotiate a time to both week. It could be after school, it could be during a lunchtime, but and then they would just meet every week at that time.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Hi. I wanted to talk about the practice. I mean, through homeworks or assignments. My son in grade 6, he just got one homework since he started the school. And I know that they are working inside the class, maybe math, one of the subjects that he started from the first day. But about the homeworks and the practice at home, I don't see him practice at home, because actually I can't push him to practice at home if he doesn't have assignment or homework. If he has, so he will go back to his notebook and he will revise, because he feels that he has something and he has to give the teacher the assignment in the due date. So what do you think? I feel that maybe they should get more homeworks, because math needs practice more. What do you think?
I think that maybe I'll talk with the grade 6 teacher. Did your child was in grade 6? Is that right? Yeah. Just talk with grade 6 teachers about what they're doing. I think, generally speaking, we have a policy that there would be homework on a weekly basis, or I wouldn't say a daily basis, because we only have maths twice a week, and then that should be, say, posted on ManageBack either as a message or on the calendar. I'll just talk to the grade 6 teachers and see, because like I do, as a maths teacher, I feel like, and when I was a student, like doing maths daily was the best idea, and having a deadline or having a homework assignment was a significant motivating factor to keep you practicing, I guess. So yeah, I'll talk to the grade 6 teachers. But thanks for the feedback. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for coming, and once again, if you'd like one of these summary sheets. So next week, for those of you who weren't here in the beginning, we'll be up in the black box Monday, 8 o'clock, and next week on the agenda we have language and literature for English as well as Arabic, and then science. So another big week. If you have questions you'd like to stay behind, that's fine too. So.